Hey guys, what's up? I'm Jody with Board Game Perspective. So, today we're taking a look at Tiny Towns, published by AEG, designed by Peter McPherson, and it plays 1 to 6 players. And it's not a super long game. It says around 45 minutes, and that seems about right. So as you can see, there's a lot of color out here. We got lots of different wooden buildings of different styles and color and a bunch of cubes. So this game definitely does not lack in the beautiful component department. But in this game, you are the mayor of a tiny town located in the forest, where a bunch of smaller creatures have created a civilization away from predators. So you are planning and constructing a thriving town while trying not to waste resources since they are scarce. And whoever has the most prosperous tiny town is the winner. So, let's see how this game is played. Alright, so let's go over how to set up the game. So you're going to give each player their own player board, which is a 4x4 grid. It would be their own town. And then you're going to grab all of the cards from the box, and you should find one cottage card, and you're going to put that face up in the common play area. And then you're going to have 4 cards of each color, and then you're going to shuffle each color and then choose one and lay it out in the common play area as well. So I had already done that for each of these cards. That's why there's only 3 of each color. And then you're going to just do that for every single set of color, and then you'll have a display of cards. And then you'll place the remaining cards back in the box. And then you're going to place all these building pieces out around the card, matching the symbol on the card. So these will be the common supply, and you'll also have all these resource cubes in a common area as well. You will give the starting player this Master Builder hammer as well. And then you're going to find the cards with the monument symbol, and you're going to shuffle all of these cards and then deal 2 of these monument cards to each player. And then each player is going to look at them privately and choose one that they want to keep and then discard the other. And then each player will also grab their corresponding monument building. The rulebook also suggests that you start with these buildings here, and they're also listed in the rulebook as well. Now, if this is your first play, the rulebook does suggest that you start with these following buildings. Now, these monument cards are special buildings that only the player holding the card can construct. And you can only construct this monument building one time throughout the game. Once you have constructed your monument, then you will resolve any immediate effects, and then scoring will be resolved at the end of the game. Let's just go over the anatomy of the card real quick. So here's the title. You'll have the building type on this side, and then you will have the resource build pattern in the middle, and then at the bottom you will have the building ability or scoring. Alright, so since everything is set up and ready to go, let's go over the round overview. So first, the master builder will call out a resource that they want to pick. So let's say they say blue, and then every other player has to pick up a blue cube and then immediately place it on an empty square on your player board. Now, once the resources have been placed, they can never be moved after the initial placement. And these resources can only be removed when constructing a building. And also only one resource or building can occupy each square. And once a cube has been removed, it just goes back to the general supply. After the resources have been chosen, then each player can construct a building if they want, as long as it matches the resources and the correct shape of the card. Once all players have placed their resources and constructed any buildings, a new round begins, and the Master Builder token passes to the player on the left. Now let's go over the building construction rules. So all players will be able to build these different types of buildings if they want throughout the game, and each person has their one private monument building they can work to as well. Now once you have the correct resources, then you can build one of these buildings. So for instance, let's build a cottage, which is right here, and it requires these 3 color cubes, and I have that on my player board. So then what you're going to do is you're going to remove those cubes from your board and put them to the supply, and then you're going to grab the matching building, so the cottage, and then you can place that in one of those three spots that were covered with those resources. So I will choose to put the cottage there. Now, a resource can only be used to construct one building, not multiple. So for example, with this layout here, we could not construct both of these cards because there is only one blue cube. So I could choose to build the tavern, which is these two red cubes and a blue cube, or I could choose to build the cottage, which is this pattern right here. But I could not do both because each pattern needs its own blue cube. Now, buildings do not have to be constructed as soon as its resources are in place, but instead players can wait as many rounds as they want to construct a building. And also, players can construct multiple buildings at once. So for example, we have the resources and the patterns here to construct two buildings. We could construct the cottage card with this pattern here and resources, and also we can construct a well. Now, once a building has been placed, it can never be moved to another square in the future. Now let's go over another building construction example. So we have the cubes out here and the pattern to match the chapel here. Now let's show how it can be rotated, flipped, and mirrored. So this pattern would work. This would fulfill it, so I could place out a chapel and remove those cubes. This would also satisfy that. That's the exact match of the card. Then this would also work, and so would this. And then if you wanted to rotate it, you could have it be like this. Now, when your town is filled with buildings and resources and you cannot or choose not to build or construct any other buildings, then your town is complete. You are out of the game and everyone else continues until each other player's towns are filled as well. The game ends immediately once everyone's towns are filled. So once the game is over, every player will remove any resource cubes left out on their player board, as these will be negative points per square left. Now this game also comes with a nice score pad where you can tally up everyone's score, and you'll just go through each item one by one. Alright, so let's go over an example and score this player board here. So let's start with the factory. So the factory card said, when constructed, place one of the 5 resources on the factory, and when another player names the resource, you may place a different resource instead. So this doesn't give me any end of the game scoring, but it would allow me to place resource cubes on here throughout the game and place different resources. So next up, we are going to score the cottage card. So we have 3 cottages out here. This card says you get 3 victory points if this building is fed. Now, this symbol right here is an important symbol because this shows up on the farm card, which says for each farm, it feeds 4 of those types of buildings, which the cottage is. So in this example then, we have more than enough farms. So all of these 3 cottages are fed, so that gives us 9 victory points for cottages. Next, we have the chapel, and this says we get 1 victory point for each fed cottage. So we just analyzed it and we saw that we had 3 fed cottages, so that's going to give me 3 victory points for this card. Now we have the tavern card, which we get victory points based on the number of constructed taverns we have in our town. So for this example, we have 1 tavern here. So 1 tavern gives us 2 victory points. So now we got the bakery, and this gives us 3 victory points if adjacent to a farm or a factory. So we have 1 bakery out here, and it's adjacent to a factory but not a farm. So we get 3 victory points for this scenario right there. And now we have the well, and this gives us 1 victory point for each adjacent cottage. So we have 3 wells out here. So this is adjacent to a cottage, this is adjacent to a cottage, and so is this one. So all 3 are adjacent to cottages, so we get 3 victory points. Now in this example, we did not build a monument building, so that would score 0 points for the monument building. And then lastly, you get -1 point for each empty square in your town. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, so that'd be -4 points. So here's the example we just did. We tallied up all of our points for our town and figured out our final score. Now it is possible to have a negative score actually at the end of the game. So then once everyone does this, then you see who has the most points, and they're going to be the winner. Now the rule book also goes over a different way you can play Tiny Towns. I'll just briefly show you what it does. So instead of having the master builder call out the resource every time, you have this deck here of different resources where you'll shuffle and you'll place face down, and then you'll pretty much just reveal, and then everybody will grab that resource and put it on their board, and then you'll do that again, and everybody will grab the resource and do it yet again. And then the third time, everybody will grab a resource that they actually want from the supply and put on their boards. And then you'll just keep repeating that pattern where you draw and then pick a cube from the supply. Now in the back of the rulebook, there is also the solo variant, as well as building clarifications where it goes into detail about all the different buildings you might have in the game. Alrighty, so that is Tiny Towns. So let us know in the comments below if you have played this game before, what you think about it. And if you want to help us out, you can always hit that subscribe button, tell the world about us, like the video, play some Tiny Towns, and yeah guys, so thanks for watching and we'll see you next time.
Alright, so that is... Alright, so now that we have showed you how to build all these Tiny Towns, you should be able to play now.
Video over.
Goodbye.